Dumela, Saubona, Sakpase, Namaste, Upshin, Dubra Ota, Assalamu alaikum, Hotep, Buenas noches, bonsoir. Good morning. What's going on, folks? You are here at another episode of the Doria Larry Show, formerly known as the Digital Couch. And we're here on season 2, episode 42. I'm so excited today. Let me lead with this. You ever seen people walking down the street and black folk know? They'll walk and they'll say, oh, hold on. You know they black, right? Or you see people who are in the sun, but they got like this wide brim hat on, long sleeves. What they doing? I had the opportunity last week to go and check out a family member who is in a play, and some of y'all saw me post about it and chat about it, called The White Blacks. Well, I had the esteemed pleasure of having on our show today the playwright and one of the lead actors on the show right now. So why don't we welcome them in? Let us get Melanie Maria Goodreaux in. Let us get Kristina Rose King in. Yay! Good morning. I'm so thrilled to have you here. Welcome to the show. Let us get right into it. Melanie, before I say that, you will see the link in all of the descriptions wherever you're watching this, either on Facebook or YouTube, whether it's live or on the replay, to get your ticks to follow Melanie Goodreaux and her line of plays that have been out or are out or will be out. Please follow her. She is an absolutely amazing creator, and we will celebrate her. So, Melanie, give us your 10-second who you are. Of course, we'll see the link in the bio, but tell us what we're doing here.
Okay. Hi, I'm Melanie Maria Goodreaux. I am a playwright, director, dramatist. I consider myself a guerrilla theater maker because I make theater no matter how, no matter what. No, where there's a will, there's a way. I'm a poet, playwright, fiction person, and I'm here today as the project leader of The White Blacks.
Yay!
Yes.
Kristina, tell us who you are.
Hi, I'm Kristina Rose King, a proud granddaughter of a Larrier, and I play Alva Roshan de Maslier. Have to make sure my husband gets in there. I am the favorite grandchild of the matriarch of the family, ma mère. I am the person who is holding this family together, who is fighting for this family to stay together. She sort of keeps her mouth shut, takes a whole lot of crap from everybody, every which way, so she can keep her grandmother happy. She holds up these ideals of what her grandmother thinks a perfect light-skinned Creole is supposed to be. Until she can't hold it together anymore and she gets pushed a little too far. So come see what that looks like, because it's not pretty.
Let's just say the gumbo is everywhere. All right, so let's hop into this. So initially I was introduced to this play, and of course it was like, oh, I'll go because my family is in it, let me go celebrate and support. And then my cousin and I, another cousin, we go, we're like, yeah, and she's a theater buff, so I was like, hey, let's go check this out. We walk in, and of course I try to do my research. Everyone says, Doriel, why do you go to the movies or go to theater and you're asking questions all during? I said, because I have to process. Don't shun me, because I'm trying to process everything. I'm the person, I'll be looking stuff up. I'll hear something. I'm like, wait, let me dig into that. Wait, if I'm watching something even on on television, I'll have my laptop nearby so I can look up the symbolism to see how it impacts. I'm like, just enjoy it. No, I can't do that. I was doing that during this show. So I took a trip to New Orleans this summer, not connected to this play. And I love New Orleans. I love just the beauty of the architecture and of course the food. Shout out to Cafe Du Monde. Shout out to Cafe Du Monde. With a cup. With a cup. There we go. There the Cafe Du Monde cup. And Yay! And shout out to a friend of mine who also infused some of the love. And I'll just shout out Cece one time. And then I happened to see this play, and I was like, "Wow, this brings it all together." So I wanted to talk about the plot, the theme, the overtones, which range from not just the Black family, which is not a monolith, as of course we see in this play, but symbolism, spirituality, politics, rites of passage, coming into your own family structure. And of course, we don't have time to do all of that. But if we touch on some of those, that would really, really sort of really synthesize the things that you were trying to bring out, Melanie. So why don't we start with just Creole culture?
Creole culture. Okay, wonderful. So I can tell you that the reason why the White Blacks exist is because there was a shorter play called Sadie Dolores that featured sort of like people in Creole culture in our particular family that decided to pass for white in the 1940s. Okay. But Creoles know that they are Black people. They live their lives as Black people. And even though they probably try to maybe buy into some of this Eurocentric idea of what light skin is better than, they live their lives as Black people and they know that they're Black people. But in the 1940s and probably prior, thousands of people left New Orleans and other places in the South to assume white identities. And so I wanted to write the White Blacks because I felt like once the 70s came, this family that was holding on to these sort of Creole ideas, marry another Creole, light skin is this, et cetera, that in the 70s, you saw something happening where Black was beautiful, Black was powerful. And so there was no way for this family to hold on to those ideas and also own their Blackness and also continue to be who they were authentically. So I wrote the White Black so that we could see those changes. And so Kristina King's character, Alva, is sort of the representation of the person in the family that's trying to hold on to the past, but also is moving towards the future. And you see my mare grappling with that with all of her granddaughters. So she has one granddaughter that's pro-Black, pro-Africa, who brings in another pro-Black man into the family, you know, and whether he's light-skinned, does his hair fit in, et cetera, is a whole issue. You have Alva, who's married another Creole, even though he doesn't particularly have as much status as anybody would think that he should have. Right. And then she has another granddaughter who will sort of follow this old way of passing, of going off to California and denying her heritage. But this character wants to come back home. So it's a difference between this total severance that would happen with the Passe Blanc, where they would leave behind Creole culture, leave behind their Black families, and assume total white identities. This is the truth of many people, not just my family. And so that's what I can say about Creole culture and the family structure that you see in the White Blacks, if that answers that question.
It does. It does. Kristina, so let me toss a question at you. How did... well, this may be a little deep, but how did you align yourself with the character of Alva? Did you see yourself as, sorry, but was there any moment of course you have to step into the character's shoes as an educator. I'm always like, you have to, see what the character, what the face does, what the hands do, what the body does. But there's also an essence of what the soul does, how the soul has to marry with the character in order to pull it off. Child, you pulled it off. You pulled it all the way off.
Thank you so much. I always love to tell this story about when I first auditioned for the show, because I did not audition for Alva. And when Melanie first called me back for Alva, I got the sides that she gave me, and I was like terrified to do them.
Wait. Who'd you audition for? Who'd you want to do?
I auditioned for Velma.
Really?
Yeah.
Alva.
Yeah. So she gave me the callback material, and I read some of the Alva sides, and I was scared because she felt so much like me and
Mm.
like a side of myself that I have been like scared to tap into.
Mm.
But I'm so happy that Melanie was like, good, so you're going to do it now, and you're going to think about some of these things. And it's a lot of the little things. It's a little bit of the feeling like you have to be perfect, and what does that look like? You know, the perfect hair, the she has to talk like this, she has to marry this, otherwise like her grandmother will like snap at her like that, or and like I said before, what happens when just the pressure becomes debilitating and she finally explodes.
Mm.
Because she's the one person that feels like she has to shoulder it all.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was powerful. I'm sorry, Melanie, yes?
She just brings up another family structure thing that's in it. Kristina King's character, Alva and Marie, their mother is this sort of, has severed her ties with the family because she didn't do all the right things either. She didn't get married. She had the right things, quote unquote. She didn't get married. She has children by different fathers, and she doesn't tie in so nice and neat into the box of marry someone Catholic, marry someone Creole, do these things, be in the balls, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's interesting that she brought that up. That's another issue with family structure, is that the mother in this play, who has severed her ties with everyone, or the family who is having another rift, didn't do all the right things. And so that's part of what the rift is about, I would imagine.
Yeah. And then somehow I feel like because of that, her daughter feels like she has to make up for what her mother did not do.
Like, right, living through realities of other people's ish, if we should say. So I'd like to tap into some of the overtones of religion and spirituality, which popped up, whether it had to do with even like lighting or sounds or ancestral celebration, let's put it like that. And sort of touch on that. Some of it. Now, I'm not from Louisiana. I'm not Catholic. I'm Baptist. So some of the things I said, wow, like, do we do that, or how do we do that, or how do we celebrate family? How do we come together to acknowledge those people from the past? What are the elements that are used? And I saw you do some of that in this play, and I wanted to know. Is it specifically a Creole culture? Is it specifically Catholicism? Or is it essences of, let's say, our African connection? So I was trying to put all those pieces together. I said, let me just ask Maria. Let me just ask Melanie. Come on, what's going on?
Well, I think that, African people always have a sort of ancestor worship, and there's a little bit of magical realism that always kind of happens in my plays. So are you referring to the talking portrait?
The talking portrait, the candles, the wind through the house, and like an element
of the house. Okay, that's interesting. So yeah, I guess that, and I can tell you that the set references Newton Street, and Newton Street is where our family was. And I feel like homes and houses contain a lot of spiritual energy because they have a lot of memories. So we have our portrait of our grandfather who has died, who was probably waked in the house. So that was pretty much a Catholic. In the old days, it doesn't happen anymore. But when you would die, you would actually, your wake would be in the actual living room. So the funeral, so the house that we keep referring to, which is Newton Street, was the place where many people were born and many people died. And so occasionally their wake would be actually inside of the living room before, I guess it would be more standard to have it at a funeral home. So that's one thing. Also, we felt like when the Passe Blancs left, you kind of see the ghost in the projections, and it's just, and we purposely put them on the door, so you see them on the house door, you see them on the big movie screen, etc. And that is because, when you're dealing with the home and anything that you've lost or forgotten, it's sort of saturated with memory and experience. And so that is where some of that came from. The other religiosity that you might see in the play is there is a big Catholic undertone. Maria is a Catholic. So there's a holy water station in the house, which is not so far off. My mother has a holy water station in her house, and she blesses the house every night. So she takes
Wow.
holy water and goes through the house and blesses the house, and it's almost like to protect the house. So just always an owning of that spirituality and being very open about it, being very faith-filled about it and not ashamed of it, you know. And she says a line to Jimmy where she says, you know, Catholics go to the grave and they stay to rest. That's a Catholic ideal, you know what I mean? Like just, you know, that's something that in that whole religiosity. So the fact that she prays, another spiritual moment I would imagine, that they uphold all of these sort of religious rituals that are supposed to happen in the Catholic faith. So Kristina's character Alva is honored because she got married.
Right.
And Marie, who jumps the broom right there in the living room in front of them, that doesn't count because it's just a broom and it's not, you know, you'd have to go to mass. Other elements of spirituality, we have the Red character, who I think is just, you know, he's supposed to be this good guy that they're taking the daughter Evelyn, who needs to have a date. And that the spirituality is, he's just sort of talking about true love and the hope of finding love and hope of finding a partner. And he relates it to the metaphor of oysters.
Yes.
How oysters move around in versus crabs who fight to the top, who fight each other to get to the top. But oysters, they lay a foundation. And
I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that.
You know, and guess what, Dario? I didn't know it either until I did research on the characters, because a lot of the time when I'm writing plays, I'm listening to what these images want to become. And so I knew that I was going to have these oyster pies, and I started to really look into what oysters are, because it was starting to feed into me as a symbol that was going to happen. So oysters are an aphrodisiac.
I saw that.
Oysters are considered an aphrodisiac. Oysters are a common food that we eat in New Orleans. And my husband and I actually went to the bayou and met with some serious oyster farmers, and went there to the bayou and got on the boat and learned about these oysters. And then what I was fascinated by was that oysters are not like crabs. They spit each other's out in order to make beds that have to link together. And so to me, that was information for the play, because the play is about how our family disperses, how we have severances in our families, but how ultimately we really just want to come back home and be together.
Now, of course, when I kept hearing, you know, Red like slurping the oysters, I'm like, okay, this is like the 9th oyster he done slurped. Like, what is? But then again, I said what is the symbolism? That's why people are like, just watch it. Don't get all deep. I said, no, people won't continue to repeat an element unless there's some underlying weaving that is going on. So when he said the statement about like spitting out and then creating almost like let's say the mortar between bricks, that's what I imagine. And I said, it's the glue that keeps the family together. I said, oh, I got it.
That's it, Dario. Thank you for keeping it out.
Thank you.
All throughout the play, the characters say the world is your oyster.
Right.
They keep bringing the oyster up. You know, the beginning with the Passe Blancs, the reason that they say that they're leaving is because, the world is your oyster.
Right.
You know? The world is your oyster. But, you know, oysters, they stick together.
And it didn't hit me until I was like, wait a minute, there's something with this. So let's pull Kristina into this. So let's go to the cotillion scene. And those of you who are just popping on, because I see some people sort of popping in and saying some stuff. I'm really excited. Thank you so much. This is a review. I don't want to name the two big reviewers who do review movies, but I definitely want to be in that category of giving my own Dorielism about what I see. Shout out, because that may be coming in 2023. Y'all just keep I was very fascinated about the whole cotillion scene and how it opens up. So please make sure, folks, you go to see the White Blacks. It is only for another couple of days. There is an extension. Get your seat. Melanie, I do hope that you're going to be able to either bring this back or you're going on tour, because some people are like, wait a minute, they going to the DMV, are they going to Atlanta? They go.
Bring us everywhere.
Hello,
we're ready.
Bring them. They need to continue to show this work, because of course so let me just pop back and then we'll get into the cotillion. We all know of the quintessential movie, The Imitation of Life, which, if anybody's seen the original version in black and white, you need to see that. If you didn't see it before, see it now and then go see the play, or see the play and then go see The Imitation of Life, because it was all that. It was all that. So a beautiful, I don't want to say rendition, but let's say a spin-off of a tiny piece of it was amazing. So let's talk about the cotillion scene and how it opens up, which is very, like, it's grandiose. It's all of the cotillion scene. It's all high society. Thank you, Mom and my family, for allowing me to be a sub-deb and to experience the cotillion scene. So I did have that as a part of my experience. I want to talk about rites, as we sort of like pull this together, like rites of passage and what is acceptable. What is, let's bring a gender issue or a gender focus in here for a moment. What are the expectations of woman and womanhood and women in society, and how that has changed? Because at the beginning of the play, it's traditional expectation. You get to a certain age, 16, 17, you participate in the cotillion, you're measured by all of these rulers that are symbolic and literal and figurative. And then you morph to the 70s, where that ruler has a little bend, a little curve. Let me add that into that. So Kristina, how did you feel about the cotillion aspect and the going through the rulers of what the expectation for woman and womanhood is?
So the cotillion for me is kind of an interesting scene for Alva in particular.
Right.
And I often question how many people catch it by the end of the show. So Alva, if you're looking at her as Alva, Alva never gets to make her debut. And so Kristina is not one of the girls on the steps. She's not in a pink dress. She's standing to the side being very sort of judgmental. And you find out later in the show that Alva didn't get to make her debut because her mother snubbed one of the Bow brothers. So because of that, I didn't get to make my debut in society. And as we went back to before, I almost feel like I've been trying to make up for that my entire life. Like I've had almost like the cards stacked against me my entire life. However, I've always wanted to. I think I'm jealous of every girl that got to make their debut, because it's something that my mère has been dreaming of, is one of her daughters or one of her granddaughters being able to make their debut. And it should have been me. Like I was the one that was groomed to do it. I was the one with the perfect hair. I was the one with the perfect teeth. I was the one with the light skin. I was tall. I was skinny. I was all of this stuff. And they still wouldn't let me make my debut. So it hurts. So the cotillion is actually hard for me to stand through every night, because I feel ma mère's energy, if that makes sense.
It does. And of course, although I'm listening to it from a theatrical, and I'm going to use a kind of a silly word, but Melanie, a phantasmagorical, right, perspective. Throw a little Disney in there. The true to form, like the true to life, it shows up. And so I think the people who watch it, I don't see how the people who watch it, whether or not you're from New Orleans, whether or not you understand Creole culture, whether or not you participated in a cotillion, some part of this play is going to hit you right there. Some part of this play, whether it be about family dynamics, family-ish, people leaving, people not speaking to one another, people misunderstanding the expectation of the elders, passing down the tradition, people misspeaking, people trying to leave what they know is good and true about family, even though there's some drama in every family, and trying to seek a better life somewhere but far away from where you've come from. Let me not preach today. And then realizing at the end, your family is always going to be there, whether there's ish or not. Your family and the traditions, the stories, the rituals are there for a reason, and they're there to make you who you are in the now and in the to come. So even though you leave and you know, the character goes to California and the whole telephone thing, child, every single time that telephone came out, I was like, oh, is she gonna pick it up? Are they gonna say something? Child, people, you need to come see this play. You need to see this play. Get you a phone, get you the old rotary phone, and just hear like the dialing. Hear the click. Go back into your 70s and 80s before we had these little dial tones, these little dial phones. And just feel all of that. Feel all of the family separation and the pulling and the pushing. And thank you very much also, Melanie, for adding in the essence of differently abled family members. And that whole push and pull of, she's my daughter, or she's, my family as well. I think that she should be there as well. She should have her debut. And that like struggle of not just her ableness, but the struggle of, look, I don't need to go through all of that to be accepted. I don't need to go through all that pomp and circumstance in order to have a friend, to have love, to be accepted. That was so amazing that you put that in there. It was so amazing. So as we're sort of, I hate the fact that we're wrapping up at time, but is there any like final things or thoughts or things that would draw other people to come and see this? Because y'all got to see this show. You got to see it.
I don't know. I think I like that you've brought up Evelyn's character, and just even with the cotillion, just that the play to me represents how people are so striving, as you said, to be part of high society, and at what expense? These people have left their families, and at what expense? Mamere wants all of her daughters to make their debut, and at what expense? And ultimately, people just want to be accepted. They want to come home, and they want to connect with their families, as dysfunctional as they ever are. And I think that's something that you said, Doriel. And I think that it's something that Kristina really expresses through her performance of Alva. So I want people to come out. I'm excited about the project. I want them to come today at our matinee at 3:00. I want them to come tonight at 8:00. I want them to just come and see this show and be with us and see what all the excitement is about.
Yeah, and I don't know, as an actor, it's not very often that you get to see this many Black and brown faces on stage telling an amazing Black story, filled with like laughter and joy. And yes, it has a lot of serious stuff in it, but you will be laughing for 2 hours before it gets really heavy. And then it gets heavy, and then somehow it gets funny again. So that's something to celebrate in itself. Because what are we, 19 people in the cast or something?
We're 19, and we switch in and out. We're about 19, but pretty much about 20, I would say 25, at least 25 artists have worked in everything on the whole production. Our sound designers, our projectionists, et cetera, et cetera. So and I love that you said a Black story, because I think that one of the things that people take away from coming to see it is they enjoy the language that we use in the play, because it has a sort of freedom of talking the way that we speak when we are behind closed doors about all kinds of people. And I'm really glad that I was able to have that kind of freedom, and that my characters make them so real and make these people so real and so honest, and give these characters so much humanity that it's permissible because it's truthful, you know?
Yes. The last piece before we wrap up, I love the neighbors next door.
The Barnes.
Yes, who come and, you know, again, all in there, like it's sort of like the tea party. I don't know if it was a tea party, but like the dinner. And they come in essence, it's like after church, and they're like kind of throwing shade, like, well, remember, I was the one that helped you get so-and-so. Let's not forget that, shall we? And I said, oh, how many like family members or church members can I be naming like, oh, that was you. Child, tell her all the business. So I love it. It's an extremely amazing play. I am looking forward to it having like another run or being somewhere else. This story has to continue to be told, because as we're raising our younger people and next generations, whether it be from the cotillion aspect and the preparation and the rites of passage perspective, whether it be about identity and how no matter what drop of melanin that you have in your skin, does your family say that you acknowledge, that you own, that you are a part of this community? And what part of it do you own? Not that you shun another part of yourself, but that you own up. And when you show up in spaces of deeper melanated hues, that you don't decide to passe blanc, that you don't decide to say, that's not me. Not that Blackness is a monolith. It definitely is not. Just like, you know, the amount of melanin is a monolith and connects everybody that is let's say deeper melanated is connected to one type of musical culture. I won't say what it is, but nor the opposite. But that there's fluidity. You know, you can flow in and out. Is it helpful? When the ish hits the fan, is it going to be profitable for you? Is it going to be purposeful for you? Is it going to be purposeful for you and just yourself as an individual, your family, but also the race in the continuum? So I thank you so much for joining us. I know you have to go hit the stage and find the food. Oh, please, folks, if y'all know New Orleans food and the gumbo and all the etouffees and all that, the pralines. Oh, I was hungry during it.
That's what everybody says. Everybody's hungry after the show.
The deviled eggs.
It was, yes. I didn't even know about the eggs. I was like,
the deviled eggs are there.
What?
It's one of our most important props made by Sarah Jane Mumford. Deviled eggs.
I love it. I love it. And so, folks, make sure you see it. If you're a lover of gumbo, child, there's a whole thing about the gumbo. Who's gumbo? Just like for other folks, whose sweet potato pie is the best, whose mac and cheese is the best, child, it's the gumbo and all that. So go do it. Yes.
Hers is the best.
It is.
Don't tell Marie.
Don't tell Marie. Mine's the best.
She's going to hang up the phone on you. On that note, this is a beautiful play that people should go see. Please refer it to those who are in the New York City area or on the outskirts, and y'all want to hop on the train to the East Village. Please come and see it at the Theater for New City. Please follow Melanie Maria Goodreaux's work and Kristina Rose King's work. Make sure they continue to stay on the stage and behind the stage and being the creators and the actors and the doers and the showers, all of that, because they are telling stories that people need to hear from not just the white side of the line or the black side of the line, but that little gray area in the middle. They got a story too. And we need to hear it. Peace and blessings. This is a Learn to Grow You moment where I plant seeds to help you grow. I'm so thankful and honored once again to have Melanie Maria Goodreaux of the White Blacks and Kristina Rose King, who is an actress extraordinaire in her own right. And they decided to consider not robbery, but to be on this show and to share their work. I will see you all on the next go round. Melanie, Kristina, hold on for a second. And peace and blessings to everyone.